Let's move on to our first story. We'll be talking about the hashtag KickVic. So, if you guys don't know about this hashtag and you don't know about Vic Mignogna, so Vic Mignogna is an anime voice actor. He's also been in games as well and a bunch of other media. Not much live action stuff, but he has been in a few like Star Trek fan productions. He's 59 years old right now. His age actually does matter. He's 59 years old right now. We'll bring that up a little bit later why that matters. So, 59 years old. He was accused starting around 15 years ago. So we haven't heard anything pre his career as an anime voice actor. But we have, and that's only relevant because just bringing it up, like the scope of these allegations are starting around the time he started going to cons, promoting his work in Fullmetal Alchemist as Edward Elric. And they've even gone up to, as far as I've seen, around 2010. So yes, these allegations, even the later ones, seem to be 9 years old. However, we also have to acknowledge with these allegations that he has never acknowledged them outright, seeming like one-to-one, like picking them apart in an official statement of any type. He has mentioned some things in videos somewhere that have kind of been posted around, that have floated around throughout the years, but he's never addressed each and every one, especially some of the really heavy allegations, until this specific apology that he released. We're not getting to the apology as of yet. We just want to break down what these allegations are and also why we're calling them allegations. So when we use the word allegations, we use them in the same way that news organizations do. Now, I'm not claiming to be a news organization. Neither is Tristan. We look at who we are, and we're not trying to sit here and say that we are an official news organization, but we still want to have a certain standard and understand that we call these allegations now. In no way does that mean that we are saying that these victims are not victims, or that even with the large amount of allegations that, who cares? They're just allegations. This is in no way trying to say that you are not heard, that we are not hearing you, and that we do not feel for you. Because there are people online that with this KickVic hashtag that came up, we'll talk about why it came up rather recently, with this KickVic hashtag, some people are like, I stand with Vic. Hashtag I stand with Vic. And it's like, are you his friend? Are you his family member? Do you know him? Like, who are you? Why are you immediately coming to the defense of Vic Mignogna instead of actually trying to do research and see what the heck is going on? So, would like to mention, like I mentioned earlier, these allegations have been happening for a while because some people have been saying, well, these allegations, are they just because of Dragon Ball Super Broly? That just came out and he's Broly in that. Is that the reason why these are coming up again? No, because like I mentioned much earlier, and again right now, these have been actually coming up since around 04-05. Tristan and I have actually heard about these allegations when we were in high school. I don't know about you, Tristan, but I heard about them when I was in high school, which means that as of my age right now, 26, that's 9 to 10 years ago that I heard about this stuff. Tristan, when did you hear about this? Because I feel like you've heard about like rumblings of this throughout the years as well. I remember you mentioning that to me.
I mean, probably in the past, same time, probably in high school.
Yeah. So
I haven't heard it since it flared up again now.
Yes, and again, it flared up again now due to there was a someone on Twitter. I don't remember their name exactly, and I'm sorry that I'm not, I don't remember their name, but but you can look this up yourself, and I really suggest that you guys do to get more info, even stuff that we're not going to be, we don't have the time to bring up on this podcast. So this person was actually discussing the fact that they were a cosplayer, and they were saying, hey, I've been harassed in the cosplay community, not by Vic Mignogna directly. This was not a Vic Mignogna thread starting out, but I've been harassed. Hopefully you all can post your harassment stories down below so we can come together on this and out these people, or at least have a place to vent, because this is stuff that does happen in the cosplay community. There's a reason why, which you would think it's a dumb thing to have to say out loud because it sounds like something that's commonplace, but look, don't touch, like cosplay is not consent. Right. That's something that I feel like people should be like, oh, that's obvious. Why would somebody need to say that?
It should go without saying.
Yes, until you hear these stories and you see what these women have had to go through, or not had to, but they went through, and you're like, wow, what the fuck is wrong with these people that have been touching these women and generally making perverted comments towards these women throughout the years? This isn't a new thing. This isn't a quote-unquote Me Too thing. Just because it might be brought to light to some people doesn't mean that people have not had a story for years now. So, But like I was saying, though, this cosplay thread came up, and then it just inspired some people to come forward, not only with their Vic Mignogna stories, but also just kind of bring this up again. Because, again, we've heard this for years now, yet for some reason, it's just kind of like we've heard about it, it's been there, and then out of nowhere, it kind of just went underground again.
Right. Yeah.
And it went underground to the point where you and I were talking about Dragon Ball Super Broly recently, I believe on an episode of Keikaku Korner, where we were saying, oh, I wonder if they're going to bring Vic Mignogna back. That would actually be cool. Why? Because it literally fell out of our heads because no one has been talking about this, sadly, for a very long time. Or we sit back and we're like, oh, yeah, those allegations. And then people, and including us, don't dig further and don't see what these are about. And then for some reason, not only does he get away with this, allegedly, right? Allegedly gets away with this, but at the same time, also the fact that you and I, Tristan, we don't follow new anime much. So I gotta be real with you. I thought he wasn't even voice acting anymore. Like, I legit thought he wasn't even in the industry, right? Yeah. Like, until we looked at his roles and we're like, oh shit, he has had steady work.
Yeah.
Even with...
there are things that I've looked at that I've been like, is that who I think it is?
Yeah. No, but it's insane that he has actually had work once per year, at the least, every single year, both in the anime and video game community, even though these allegations have been out for a very, very long time. Now, some of you, if you haven't been following, you're like, okay, get to the allegations. Right. All right. So these allegations are homophobia, are being anti-Semitic, allegations of being rude to con staff, which I know to some people are like, oh, rude to con staff. It's like, no, but when you are someone who actually is working at these cons and you have that type of power, if you're just going to walk into a room and start screaming at con staff or telling them, you get me this way, people have for years have tried to look at celebrities and say, oh no, they're just being either, they use the word a diva, or they're just being dramatic, they're just being whatever. But it's still not something that we should allow, especially talking about our smaller community, not a small community, but our smaller community. It's not something that we should just be like, who cares? Now, you could say, does that mean that he should, go to jail or something? No, I'm not saying he should go to jail for being rude to con staff, but it still is part of these allegations for a reason, because that's something that con staff and also people online have been talking about for years. Like, yeah, I noticed when I, worked at a con, Vic Mignogna was just yelling at me over nothing, and then either he was corrected and then didn't apologize, or he just walked away after being rude, and the con still lets him come back. Some have actually have banned him over the years. So that's another thing too, by the way. Think about that. If you want to say that all of these allegations are false, even the ones that are coming up, there are cons that have banned him. So that's telling of something at the least.
Yeah.
Anyway, these are the allegations: being rude to con staff, homophobia, and being anti-Semitic. That while they matter, I'm not saying they don't matter. They, in my opinion, are not as heavy as what is coming up next that we're about to talk about. So, he has been accused of being a bit too touchy-feely with fans. And when I say touchy-feely, I mean there are a lot of pictures that are out there, and we're not going to share these pictures on this podcast simply due to the fact that we have not been able to contact these women directly. So even though, yes, they may have posted these pictures to Twitter, they've posted their experiences to Twitter, I don't want to take their pictures and just post them and sit here and be like, see, look at this, without being able to actually get their confirmation. So I would suggest, like I mentioned earlier, you guys go online, you guys do this research as well, so you could see some of these pictures as well. There was one picture that actually was taken, quote-unquote, out of context, if you will. So there's one that's been, quote-unquote, debunked, if you will. The problem is that with that picture being debunked, you have people who say, hashtag I stand with Vic, coming out going, see, so all of them are fake. And it's like, that's not how an argument works.
Okay, either. Right.
No. So what picture are we talking about? Well, there's a woman with red hair. Now she's a woman. At the time she was not. That's also relevant. A woman with red hair who took a picture with Vic Mignogna. Vic held her very, very close. He did not kiss her. There are some pictures where he is kissing some of these women, by the way. And we'll talk about why that's a bit of an issue later if it doesn't seem like it's an issue immediately when you bring it up. So this picture in particular, he was hugging this woman very close. She had red hair. She looked uncomfortable. However, she now says, so we have confirmation from her directly, hey, I'm 21 years old now. When I took this picture, I know I might look like I'm uncomfortable, but I actually did consent to this. I wanted to take this picture with Vic Mignogna. So you hear that and you go, okay, cool, then we're fine. Here's the issue. She's 21 now. So when you do the calculations, when she said how old she was at the time, she was 14 to 16 years old.
Right.
I have to be honest with you guys. You can't, I'm sorry to say, you can't consent to someone who's much older than you. This isn't her hugging a friend who's 17 years old. When she is 14 to 16 years old, she's hugging a dude in her 40s. At the very least, you would imagine Vic Mignogna would ask, how old are you? Or at least consider, hey, maybe she looks a little young, I don't know, maybe an arm around. I'm not saying he can't do like a simple arm around, but you've seen these pictures, Tristan, and if you guys haven't, looked them up, they're very close.
Yeah.
They're very uncomfortably close. Even if the person is of age, unless they've consented, it's still uncomfortably close. And the reason why I use consent, and I say consent, is because of the fact that some of these pictures, women have come out and said, yeah, he didn't tell me he was going to hug me. I said I wanted a picture with Vic Mignogna, then he pulled me in and kissed me on the cheek, and it was like, I just wanted a picture with you. Right? So you have situations like that. You have other situations where people have actually said, and this is on Twitter, where they've said, I wasn't a fan of Vic Mignogna. One of my friends was a fan of Vic Mignogna. He was under the impression that all of us were fans, and even though I didn't want to take a picture with him, he was like, come on, everyone, come on, come on, and made her take a picture with them where he was uncomfortably close.
Yeah.
And even though he didn't know her age at the time, still, at the end of the day, you kind of have to sit back and ask someone their age when you are in your 40s. Taking pictures at these cons, that's kind of what you have to do. Now, some people are going to talk about context of this, context that. Oh, but even though she was 14 to 16, she still said yes. Here's the thing. I don't know. There's some people online who've been saying that Vic Mignogna used to be a high school drama teacher. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but let's say that is accurate for a second. I just want to clarify. Let's say that's accurate, right? If he hugged his drama kids after a really good show, I'm not going to sit there and be like, how dare you? If he knows these people in a school setting, and maybe they didn't have a good show. Maybe they were like, I'm the worst actor ever. Oh my God, no, sweetie, come on. It's okay, right? That is so different, in such a different context, than getting a girl who you don't know, who may or may not be a part of his fan club. We'll talk about his fan club a little bit later. That's actually relevant. A girl from his fan club or not from his fan club, someone that might not even be a fan of his, and just pulling them in tighter for a picture. Yeah. When you don't even know their name or you don't even know their age, which also, again, is very relevant. It would still be harassment if he didn't ask and he didn't know their age. But still, if at least he asked and they were over the age of 18, I don't care what he does to his fans as long as it's consensual if they're over the age of 18. Some may call him a creep if he's doing some weird stuff with fans, but if it's consensual and they're over the age of 18, I can't care less. Like, they're over the age of 18, right? He confirms it. Let's say maybe he asks them like, oh, is this your first con? Do you go to school in this area? And they go, yeah, I go to the college over there. If you've confirmed it, I know it might seem creepy to some because they're fans, but I don't consider that a big deal if you confirm their age and it is consensual. The problem with these pictures, before we can get to the even heavier allegations, the problem with these pictures is many of them, from what people have been saying and people have confirmed by even if there aren't pictures, they've talked about their picture that they took that were non-consensual. They're non-consensual. Doesn't matter what age you are. He pulled them in, maybe even kissed them on the cheek, and it's like, bro, I just like you as Edward Elric. What the fuck?
Right. That's not okay.
That's not okay. Now, there are also some allegations. This is the stuff that's heavier, that he groped two women. These are two women, and there might be more allegations. I've only seen two. These allegations where one woman said, I confided in Vic Mignogna about my life at the time. I was over 18, but many people say I looked younger, but I was over 18. I was in college. And when Vic Mignogna and I were in an elevator, he put his hand down my skirt and fondled me from the backside. If that is true, holy shit. Like, we can't, like, we call them allegations because they are allegations, but I'm not in any way saying that she's lying.
No.
Right?
Yeah. Like,
because, yeah. No, yeah, and it's really rough because we'll get to his apology in a minute or so, but his apology does not address that directly. Mm-hmm. And that's an issue. Now, There was another one where she said, hey, I took a picture with Vic Mignogna. I don't remember if she said that it was consensual, like, oh, I wanted him to hug me or whatever. I think it was someone who said, yeah, he pulled me in tight and then he grabbed my ass. So what do you, like, I don't know what to say to that other than your voice has been heard. That's why we're talking about this, because we're not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, what do you do? No, we're going to bring this up so that either he can address that himself, or hopefully more people who have been victimized by Vic Mignogna come forward. Yeah. And hopefully someone else not only has their testimony, but also if their state potentially has different laws in terms of statute of limitations, perhaps someone could actually go after him.
Right.
Again, I don't mean go after him physically. I'm talking about in a court of law.
Right.
Yeah. In a court of law. So I hope that could happen. I hope that people could come forward with their stories, because right now with what we have, we sadly do not have video evidence. We have the pictures that show that clearly he's made people feel uncomfortable. Yeah. But does that mean he should go into a court of law? Does that mean he should go to jail for this? I actually legitimately don't know. I do believe that that with the pictures that have been taken, there should be some kind of action taken from more cons and potentially even from more companies that employ him. Because if I was a con...
Yeah, not inviting him as a guest because...
Yeah, because what the hell, right? So, we'll talk more about that, though, after we get to his apology. There's just one argument I want to refute. There are some people that have the hashtag I stand with Vic, right? They have that hashtag because they say, well, if he's been doing these things for all these years, wouldn't there be A, more video evidence, and B, wouldn't he be in jail? And I want to mention something. So, Tristan, you can't see this right now, but because if you guys might not know, Tristan and I can see Tristan, but Tristan can't see me during these. No, I bring this up for a good reason. I'm going to hold up my phone right now. This is my phone that I had in high school. It's a white T-Mobile flip phone. This phone could take pictures, but this phone is not like the phone that I have right here today that I could, if we had enough subscribers on our YouTube channel, could actually live stream directly to our YouTube. Yeah. Remember that some of these allegations, again, when I and many people had a flip phone just like this, were from a year before YouTube, 2005. YouTube didn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
MySpace was around. Facebook didn't exist yet. Twitter didn't exist yet. Tumblr didn't exist yet. I say this only because, look, I'm not saying that you can't look at this argument or you can't feel what you feel and you have to be a child if you think differently than me. I'm not saying that. But we do have to acknowledge that I think that some people who are talking about physical video evidence or picture evidence are thinking of this like as if you're like, it's like a YouTube world that we live in now. We live in a YouTube world. People are carrying
the time frame in which some of these allegations have come out.
People now are bringing their cameras everywhere to then cut down footage later. If Vic Mignogna was doing this as much as he was doing this back then, I would think that he would hopefully potentially be caught in the act of grabbing someone's ass much easier just by accidentally being caught in someone's film now. Because now everyone's trying to film stuff to put it on YouTube. So they're like, this is my time at a con and look how cool I am and all of this. And you would potentially get Vic Mignogna doing something horrific in the background just by accident. Yeah. Right? And some people say, well, why has no one in the industry come up before this and talked about this? That one actually does confuse me. And I only bring this up for one reason alone. It confuses me because to me, Vic Mignogna does not hold any power. Now, I'm not saying that's a reason why people shouldn't say anything, but to me, Vic Mignogna is just some guy. I'm not saying that I don't like his work, and I haven't liked his work, but he's just some dude that, to me, sorry, he's replaceable. Right. I'm not trying to say that, he's that he sucks as an actor or anything like that. We're not talking about him as an actor right now.
Right.
It's just that he is replaceable. His behavior we're talking about. But he's also replaceable. He's not like a CEO of a company that could dictate, in my opinion, who gets hired and who gets fired. I am actually very confused as to why people have not come out and talked about Vic Mignogna in the voice acting community if they've seen or if they know about this. If they don't know about this and they haven't seen this, okay, but I am a little bit confused, I will admit, as to why no one has come forth at any point during this, this 14, 15-year span of these allegations, because it is a little odd. But again, of course, that woman that accused him of groping her in an elevator, there were no other voice actors. It was him and it was her in an elevator. So some of this stuff that happened that, these accusations, for the most part, like if he's with those one allegation that I should have mentioned earlier, that someone alleged that he had sex with underage fans in a hotel room, some of them being from his Rissenbull Rangers fan club. If that is true, then who else was in that? Like, it was him and it was that fan, and not that. And again, it's a thing too where she was underage, so she couldn't consent. But I am now in no way saying that she did not want that to happen. But again, irrelevant, because she cannot consent when she's underage. What I'm getting at, though, is there was no one else in that hotel room. It's not like there was another voice actor or someone in power who could see that and then say, "Oh God, this happened." So it does become a bit of an issue where if people are asking, well, why has a voice actor not said this, or why has someone in a company not said this? They were not clearly around, because Vic Mignogna, if he has actually done these things, he's not going to do it in front of other, like, he's an egotistical asshole. I think that's something we can confirm no matter what. But he would also be a fucking idiot if he were to do this in front of people.
Yeah.
So, usually abusers, and I'm not saying that he is one, but when we look at the way people abuse and the pattern, there we go, the pattern, usually it was one person that's targeted, and it is targeted behind the scenes.
Right.
These pictures, of course, are a very odd outlier, but they do tie into his apology, his quote-unquote apology, and I do want to get to that apology right now, because actually, no, I'm sorry. Before we get to the apology, I want to play a video, because the anti-Semitic comments and the homophobic stuff, actually, we didn't delve into that as much as we should have. The anti-Semitic stuff is brought up because he made a reference to, he said the word Holocaust. He claimed it was a joke, and he claimed he was not talking about the Holocaust that we know about, that many people reference when they use the word Holocaust, the one referring to Jewish Americans or Jewish folk by the Nazis. So according to him, he was like, in his apology, he said he wasn't referring to that Holocaust, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's actually play the video right now so we can see exactly what he said.
The people that contributed to making this book for me, and I was sharing my heart, and right when we started, I said, "Hi, you guys." I said, "We're in here, having this quiet time, and it sounds like they're having a Holocaust outside." Because there was like, screaming and all kinds of stuff outside. Now, I'm sorry, guys. Don't be offended.
I mean, well, Vic, I know you asked, but I don't know if I could, if I could go along with your request. But you know what? Let's play a little bit more. I don't want people to say that we took this out of context. By the way, I will post this video actually in our chat, simply so that you guys can see it as well. So let me post this video right here. Okay, so post this video right here, but I'll play a little bit more, again, just so that we make sure that no one says we're playing this out of context.
Holocaust is a generic word. It's a word. See what I'm saying? It's not a specific thing. There is the Holocaust, and then there is a word, Holocaust. And you can look it up in the dictionary, and it has a generic meaning.
This is not even his actual apology picture that he posted online. This is just him in the moment realizing, oh, I just fucked up. And it's like, because if he had just said it was a war zone out there, like, I don't understand why in his head he thought, oh, war zone, that would be inappropriate. Let me say the word Holocaust.
Yeah.
You could say he's misspeaking. I don't know if this says directly that he's anti-Semitic, but it does say that he is. Maybe he's dumber than I thought. You know what? I'll say that much. Maybe he's dumber than I thought. Why would you not just say war zone?
Right.
Speaking as someone who used to be a debate coach, if I was talking about these kids being very loud, I would say, this is what I would say, man, they were being very loud.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Right.
Or if you want to say it sounds like a war zone out there.
To use hyperbole, sure, but why go straight to Holocaust of all things?
Of all things. And then to say, I'm not talking about the one that you're thinking of. Now that means that other people who've been through other Holocausts have to be like, great, so now we're dragged into this.
Right. Well, which
So-
one were you referring to?
No,
that-
I was referring to the general word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Now, when
Right.
it comes to the homophobic issues, here's my thing with this, right? So obviously, you and I can't speak for a community. We're only reporting on what has been said. So what has been said was Vic Mignogna. One side says, and I hate to do the one side bullshit, but again, there are people that are coming out trying to, be one side this, one side I stand with Vic. So the people like us who want to talk about this Kick Vic hashtag and share this out there, they're saying, hey, Vic Mignogna has refused to sign yaoi artwork before when it's been given to him because, Vic Mignogna, he's going to sign stuff at an anime convention. So Vic Mignogna refused to sign this stuff. Also, they've said that he has not been nice to some people who are in the LGBTQ plus community who have come up to him at cons. And also, people have said as well that he's actually said, hey, any character that I have voiced was not gay. Which is like, that's a weird hill to die on.
Yeah.
Why is that the hill you want to die on, dude? Like, why is that, like, say, whether or not they're gay, why does that matter? You're an actor.
Right. And it's not your work to begin with. It's work that you're voicing for.
And it's not like and his voicing too. It's not like if he was like, hey, I didn't want to be in this role because I don't want to kiss a man in this role. Like a live action role. That's much different. He's voicing over these characters, and he tried to claim, oh, this character that I voiced in this Clamp show, they're not gay. Despite the fact that Clamp, some official artwork and some official stuff was saying that, hey, this character might be gay. And Vic Mignogna was like, no, actually, I talked to Clamp directly. He's not gay. Again, dude, just like, it's funny. If he's not homophobic, again, you're dumb. Like, and it's when he says that I'm like, you know what? Maybe he actually is homophobic, because personally, I would say that he's not homophobic if he wants to just say, I don't want to sign anything that is explicitly explicit. Anything that's explicit, not even just yaoi, anything that's explicit. So if it was like Eden Winry, like naked, and he was like, I don't want to sign that
because it's explicit. Okay.
I think that's okay. And I think that same thing could be applied to if Ed and Roy were having a good time. I would understand if he was just like, I don't want to sign that. However, and I have to just say this as someone who maybe one day will be signing stuff, right? Maybe. If it isn't explicit and it's just like Ed and Roy like cuddling and it's cutesy, sign the fucking picture. Come on, man. Yeah. I know that I still believe that he has the right to refuse anything he doesn't want to sign, because it's much different than saying like, oh, you're trying to bake this cake for a wedding or something, where it's like maybe there aren't a lot of bakers in the area, but like he's an entertainer who's signing stuff. It's not like it's something that is required. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's a food. It's not like it's a utility. It's not like it's a place to live. Something where you're like, yeah, that needs to be provided to everyone, regardless of who you are. And yes, you could say that the cake is a service or something. But again, when it comes to this specific situation, it's like this is just signing something at an event. You could say that Vic Mignogna was an asshole for not signing that. But again, I just think that if it's explicit, it shouldn't matter, right? That's something that does matter, in my opinion. So let's get to his actual apology. And while we get to the apology, I also want to mention, because I mentioned who started this, but I didn't actually mention who started the hashtag in particular. That was actually Mars Girl. She's a YouTuber. She's been in the anime, video game, tokusatsu community for years. She's actually, I don't know her personally, so I can't say if she's, I just don't know the person. I've never met her in real life. She seems like a nice person. I've been following her content for about like a year or two now. She seems like she just always wants to do the right thing. And I think that's something that I respect from her. Again, don't know her, but I respect that she always wants to do the right thing. She's not going to share this just to spite Vic Mignogna, because there's no point. Right? It's about these people who have accused him of these things actually having their voices heard. And she even mentioned that she had a friend who she cannot, say who this is. They want to remain anonymous. That's also something we need to acknowledge as well. Just because someone's story is anonymous doesn't mean that it's false. Doesn't mean that we have to bring them out and drag them out into the light. That's their choice. Yeah. However, she mentioned that a friend of hers has actually been harassed by Vic Mignogna personally. So that is another case where now we have to sit here and say, this is, I don't remember the type of harassment, if it was pulling in or if it was an ass grab or something even worse than that. Not that that isn't bad, but that's worse than that. I talk about that only from how long you'd be put in jail point of view.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's read his apology that half of it, no, I'm sorry, not half of it, a portion of it is good. And a fair amount of it is really fucking bad / stupid / why did you do this? Why is this your apology? But let's read it out here. We've had it up for a little bit. Let's read it. Vic Mignogna says, "This is heartbreaking. Over the last few days, a number of comments and allegations have been voiced on social media. I'd like to share my thoughts. We are also going to break this down, by the way, as we're reading it. So far, not bad." It's 2 sentences. How much can he fuck it up already? But don't worry. Where there's a will, there's a Vic Mignogna. Homophobic? No. Some of my dearest friends are members of the LGBTQ community, including several that I brought into my production family on Star Trek Continues, which was the Star Trek fan production that he worked on. This is blatantly false. This is a blatantly false statement. I said many years ago that I didn't think a particular character I voiced was gay, contrary to what some fans believed, not because it matters to me at all, but because I was told this was the case. I also elected not to autograph Yowie, not because I am homophobic, but because I didn't wish to sign material that was not canon. Now, we've already reached a point where we're like, Vic Mignogna, you've already fucked up. How so early, right? Well, it's 2 things. One, he said, some of my dearest friends are members of the LGBTQ community. Now, here's the thing, right? In certain contexts, I actually don't think that's a bad thing to say, where if someone said, hey, you don't even have any friends in the community, and you go, excuse me, I have a lot of friends in the community. That works. In the context of this, what it does is, if people don't understand, what it does is it tokenizes these people to say, well, I'm friends with these people, which means that I can't be racist or homophobic or sexist towards these people. It's like, what, everyone has a mom. It doesn't mean that if you have a mom that you haven't raped. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, but that's the type of logic that is used in this. Like, oh, well, I have friends in the LGBTQ plus community, so that means that I can't be homophobic.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, first of all, do you have friends that you work with? Because I gotta be real, I wouldn't expect you to walk up to your friends in the LGBTQ plus, your friends, quote unquote, coworkers in the LGBTQ plus community and like shake their hand and be like, you're gonna burn in hell. I hope that we work together soon. Like, no, like, you're not gonna do that. So now some people are saying, oh, it's just because he's Catholic or he's Christian. I don't think that's the case. There are people in the LGBTQ plus community who are Catholic. So I don't think that we should look at the fact that, oh, he's Catholic and people are saying, oh, well, that's why they're saying this about him. No, they're saying this about him because he seemingly went kind of far with the, no, this character's not gay, I swear. It's like, dude, just why does it even matter? Just don't bring it up. Even if you're questioned about it, just go, hey, I don't really know, man. I don't really know. And then move on, right? The second thing is him talking about not autographing Yowie. He said, not because I'm homophobic, but because I didn't want to sign stuff that's not canon. How, like, if I believe that, then I must believe that Vic Mignogna is so fucking amazing that he just looks at a piece of artwork and he goes, canon. Whoa, Vic Mignogna. Like, dude, you and I, Tristan, have been fans of anime / manga since we were in single digits, since we were 5 years old, which means that 21 years we've been fans. And guess what? You can throw me off if you show me the manga that was drawn by that guy who did the Yamcha reincarnated story, and you can make me think that that was Toriyama.
Right.
We've been watching anime, specifically Dragon Ball Z even, and been reading manga for so long, but we can't tell what's canon and not canon if you're just that good. So it is so dumb to try to say, well, I don't sign things that are not canon. When even Mars Girl had said, I have a friend who drew his OC. I don't know if it was he, to be fair, this person who drew their OC next to Edward Elric. And Vic Mignogna signed it. The signature is on it.
Right.
Just, you were saying this to me off podcast, Tristan. You weren't saying that, you know, it's right that he refuses to sign this, but you were saying he should just come clean and say, I don't sign Yowie.
Right. Just come out and say it.
Yes. Even if some people would say, oh, but you're homophobic, just say, look, I don't sign X material, whatever the material is.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like we said before, if you don't want to sign explicit material, then just do across the board.
Yes.
Don't be like just this or that. Just
exactly. Yes. And, and it's a frustrating thing because, like, I don't know what I would do in a situation if I was given explicit material. But the problem, too, with this is, and you could say that we're biased for saying this, it was never confirmed that the yaoi was explicit. We're only saying it because we're imagining a young fan giving him the raunchiest shit in the world and going, oh, God, why is it going in there? Like, we're just assuming that a fan gave him some raunchy stuff. For all we know, it could have been this cutesy little, like, tiny, like, chibi versions of, like, Ed and Mustang.
Right. It doesn't,
We don't know. We haven't seen the picture in question. So you could say that's bias on our end. We only said explicit just because we wanted to make known that we're not trying to sit here and say one-to-one, like, and this is why he should go to prison for the homophobic stuff. Like, no, right? It's just we want to bring up all different ways to look at this. Now, we're still continuing because his apology still continues. Anti-Semitic, I couldn't even grasp where this was coming from until someone pointed out to me a moment years ago when I was in a panel and referred to a bunch of noise coming from another room jokingly as a Holocaust. As I said then, it was a metaphor for Armageddon. Just say Armageddon then. Death and mass destruction. Just say one of those three. But not the Holocaust. Could I have chosen a different word? Sure, in retrospect, I could have. And of course, I'm sorry that I'm sorry that it offended anyone. Now, some people would say that's a bad apology because he's not saying I'm sorry I said it. He's saying I'm sorry that it offended you. Frankly, here's the thing. I think that the phrase, I'm sorry that I offended you, or I'm sorry that it offended anyone, should really only exist when you are apologizing to a friend. Because if I'm apologizing to Tristan over something, which I may do frequently, if I'm apologizing to you, Tristan, I say, I'm sorry if I offended you because I know you, you could tell that I truly care if I made you feel upset or hurt over something. The problem is that when you're making a blanket statement about people that you may have offended, it comes off as sounding like you are saying, oh, I'm sorry you got offended, Snowflake, versus saying, I actually truly from the bottom of my heart did not mean to offend you. Also, something that we should acknowledge, and this is something that I think many people should understand, not in this context, in any context, intent does not equal impact. So he did not mean to offend anybody, but he did, so he should apologize not even just for offending, but for saying the word. Like, I'm sorry that I used that. I can't believe I thought that was appropriate.
And it seemed like in a way he does try to, maybe still not using the right words.
In a roundabout way. In a roundabout way.
Right.
Yes. Then he continues on to say, I sincerely apologize to any convention staff member who ever felt I was saying anything less than kind and grateful to be included in their event. Unknown to most staffers, contractual arrangements made in advance with cons were occasionally not honored when I arrived and made me frustrated. That does not excuse making anyone feel badly, and I am deeply sorry. Some people are trying to say that he was making an excuse there. Frankly, I think that's a perfect apology.
Yeah.
He's explaining why that happened, and frankly, I think you can explain why something happened. But when you say at the end there, I'm deeply sorry, that's an apology. I consider that an apology. Some people might not. I think that the issue is, in context with everything else that he's done and allegedly done and said, it's hard to take that seriously when everything else surrounding it is iffy, But I have to say, that paragraph right there, that's a good apology.
Right.
It is. It's a good apology.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been rude to them in the first place because, again, he's a dick. But I think, it's not okay. But
I mean, in a high, not high stakes, but like
high stress,
energy, high stress situation, like having things be set up at a con. Yeah, everyone's human. Sometimes you snap at somebody.
Yes.
In the moment, you say, "Sorry, that wasn't directed at you.
Exactly.
You didn't deserve that."
Yeah. The biggest,
yes,
and the biggest issue is he's never said that to anyone directly.
Right.
Because I think more people would come out of the woodwork if he had said, to them, hey, I was rude to you. I'm sorry. They'd be like, Vic Mignogna's a dick, but he'll apologize. But no one has come out from what I've seen that have said Vic Mignogna apologized to me directly when he did something like that to me. So essentially, he's treating them like they're retail workers when just like retail workers, which I'm not saying that they should be treated that way, then that's the point. When retail workers are treated a certain way, they can't talk back. Like, can you imagine how many retail workers want to be like, excuse me, ma'am, go fuck yourself?
Yeah.
But they can't because they would be fired. The same case with these con staffers. They would be fired if they came out and said to Vic Mignogna, do you know something, Vic Mignogna? Your shit also stinks. I haven't smelled it personally, but I'm pretty sure that your shit also stinks. But they can't say that to him because they would be let go. Yeah. And that becomes the issue, where if he has these moments where he does lash out, if he comes back and he goes, hey man, I'm sorry about that. Are you going to have, like, you're walking to go over and have lunch? You know what? Let me buy you lunch. Let me buy you lunch and I'll walk away. I'm not going to sit with you, have a conversation. Let me buy you lunch. I fucked up. Some would say that, hey, how about don't fuck up in the first place? And that's fair too. But again, like you said, Tristan, it's true. People make mistakes. And when it comes to this specific mistake,
right,
I think it's something that you can amend easily by both apologizing in the moment, maybe doing a little something extra to make people understand, hey, no, I really was sorry that I did that. And also another thing too that we have to acknowledge is when it comes to the convention stuff in particular, it took this long for him to bring it up. Much of this stuff, it took very long for him to bring it up. And it's like, this is something that should have been brought up, hell, a decade ago, perhaps, even. Right. Would have been 2009.
Like the other, even further, well...
Yeah, we're about to get to, yeah.
Yeah, no, not like further in the argument, but I mean, in future, like, try not to snap at people.
Yeah, like, holy shit, dude. Anyway, moving forward. Now we're talking about the rest of this apology. I would also like to sincerely apologize to anyone who ever felt my interaction with them, parentheses, a hug or kiss on the cheek or forehead, close parentheses, was crossing a line. Never in a million years would it be my intent to make anyone feel uncomfortable. Rather, it was meant to show gratitude or support. I come from an affectionately expressive family where such displays are commonplace, but I understand that not everyone feels the same way. Hence, I will not be interacting in the same way with fans in the future. Understand, this is the climate we live in. Mwah, there it is. And this is how it has to be. To my fans who ask me for hugs, etc., I'm sorry, but please know that I am no less grateful to or supportive of you. So here's the thing. If he had just said, him talking about his family, I gotta be honest, I don't think that's bad. Because again, that's a reason. Like, Vic Mignogna, why would you do this? Honestly, it seems commonplace. Like, if he mentioned, like, I have a daughter and I think of you all as like my children, I don't think of you in that perverse way. That's why I bring you close in like that. If he had said something like that, which he didn't bring up a daughter, he didn't bring up anything else other than this is how my family is, I don't think that's the worst.
But
but here's the problem.
I feel like you don't know these people. The point is they are not your family. So
exactly.
You don't know what they would be comfortable with unless like if somebody said, "Hey, could I please have a hug in this photo?"
Exactly. But again, of course, like we mentioned earlier, you have to try to somehow be like, "How old are you?" Like, because even though it's just a hug, still, again, you don't, like you said, Tristan, you don't know these people, right?
Right.
So here's the thing for me, though. What got me to be like, is this is the climate we live in. As if people haven't been saying this for years. It's this jab at Me Too that's just like, even if I believe that you have never harmed anyone intentionally, i.e. you've groped them, anything like that. Let's say you haven't done that. So you didn't let's pretend that you didn't grab that person's ass and that you haven't done things like that. It's just these pictures, which I'm not saying that isn't a problem, because they were non-consensual. But what I'm trying to get at is, even if I believe that this is him being like, well, gosh, golly, gee, darn, I did not mean to make you feel uncomfortable. Even if I believe that 100%, and I'm a hashtag I stand with Vicar, right? I'm one of those people. Here's the thing. saying in this climate we live in just makes it seem like you're like, me too, right? People talking about that rape stuff. Oh man, like as if
you've thrown your apology out the window, basically.
You've essentially thrown at least this portion of your apology out the window. Yeah. Because it's as if he's saying, like, because I would understand if Vic Mignogna addressed some of these claims head on and said, I have not, which he is about to do. Hey, I didn't touch women inappropriately. Which, again, it's kind of like, but you did because those pictures exist. But, like, inappropriately as in he's referring to the groping or other allegations. If he had just said that, some would say, oh, but how dare he? But if he didn't, then why would he say that he did? Right? Like, he's going to refute it if he did not do it or says he's, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to, if he didn't do it, let's say, be like, I did do it. So, of course, him refuting it is not necessarily an issue, if you will. It's him bringing up the climate we live in that I'm like, honestly, I'm just trying to report shit here and bring everything together. But then when you say that, I'm like, oh, dude, like, again, even if you aren't both a pedophile and someone who has sexually assaulted people, like we've been saying over and over, and why we're talking about this portion being a confirmed fact, you sound like a dick. You sound like an asshole. I don't know how we can say that's not confirmed at this point. Anyway, so let's move forward. Finally, any allegations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, but before I have to cut this off, again, sexual harassment, arguably the harassment would be the non-consensual pulling people into pictures like that. So I don't think he should have put that in there. Some people are saying it's a legal thing, like he legally had to put that in there. But again, technically he acknowledged earlier, if you gave him a hug or kiss on the cheek or forehead, that's technically sexual harassment. So I don't really see where he's coming from there. But let me start again. Finally, any allegations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, or most disturbingly, pedophilia are, and then he says in all caps, completely and utterly false. And then he continues on normally, my heart weeps for anyone who endures a violation of this kind. So to be accused of harming others in this way, ... I have no words. Well, motherfucker, you've had words for most of this apology, but all right. Like, it's weird to say you have no words when you've written paragraphs on the issue. Sincerely, Vic Mignogna. Okay, so here's the thing, right? What do I think of this? What does Tristan think of this? For most of the stuff that I've said, I feel like unless Tristan has chimed in, he's pretty much agreed with me on it. Sadly, that's the issue with when we know each other for so long. Usually, like, we agree so often that we just, like, why would you just be sitting there like Tristan and be like, I concur, right? So most of this stuff, unless you chimed in, you agree.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out too.
That I thought differently on, I have chimed in as you went along throughout the apology.
Yes, exactly. I only bring this up because there might be some people listening in for the first time. So, here's the thing, right? Even if we say, oh, I don't think Vic Mignogna is a pedophile, right? Because again, that is a hefty charge. And some of these pictures, people are saying, oh, but don't these pictures mean that he's a pedophile? Honestly, I don't know. And that sounds terrible to say, but here's the reason why I say it, right? With these pictures, we know one thing. And with everything Vic Mignogna has done and he's apologizing for, we also know another thing. And I think sometimes they might just be one and the same, more so than we want to admit. If it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. I think Vic Mignogna is just an egotistical asshole who thinks, why wouldn't people want a picture with me? Yeah. And just wants to pull people in. Now, here's the issue, too, though. Some people say, but he's done this more to women than he has to guys. Is that... And there are some pictures, though, of him pulling in guys close as well.
Right.
So, I honestly don't know what to say in that regard. What I do know is these pictures do exist, and he should face some kind of ramifications for the pictures. I don't know if it is jail time. But I do, or, because again, like, we have to have people coming together. We have to have courts coming together. Also, him traveling, that means that you have to get other states involved. So I really don't know how that would work. I have to be completely honest with you. But what I do know is, like we said earlier, Tristan, and I think you agree with me here, he should be banned from cons for a while. What business person would want to bring this dude into your convention, even if you're a sociopath? You're a sociopath who just likes to make money. You're running a con and you're like, who gives a fuck about my employees, right? Terrible, but they exist. They're at the head of our corporations. I say our as if we have corporations. The corporations in the US and abroad, they exist. There are people who are sociopaths that are CEOs. It's just fact of the matter. But even if you don't care about your employees, why the fuck would you want someone like Vic Mignogna to be inappropriate to fans of yours or to have that Vic Mignogna air at your con? Why would you not ban him from your con? Because you want people to not only come to that con in general, but to come back. Even if Vic Mignogna has a huge enough fan base, again, I don't really get why, but has a huge enough fan base that you're like, ooh, I can make a lot of money off this. Again, if you're a sociopath who's like, I want to make money, I don't care, but you're also a fucking idiot. Like, even if you are devoid of human emotion, you are a fucking idiot, in my opinion, if you want to knowingly, after all this, be like, yeah, let's let Vic come to the con. What's the worst that can happen? Abusing underage girls, that's actually the worst that could happen if these alleged things are true. Yeah. Like, even if you want to say the alleged things are not true, the pictures are fact. Like, we can't deny the fact that those are pictures. Someone, by the way, who is in a hashtag I stand with Vickers said pictures could be doctored. At that point, I don't know what to say to you. If you're saying that these pictures are doctored, that he took with fans, I don't know what to say to you at this point.
Yeah, you know? I mean, the only thing I would have to say to that is that, look, if they are allegations, but someone doesn't get this many allegations over the years if something's not right.
Exactly. And the thing is, again, like, even if you want to say, like, I don't know about the anti-Semitic stuff and I don't know about the homophobic stuff, you still have the con staff, which is part of a convention. Yeah. And you still have fans who have said, hey, I've been pulled in and harassed by Vic Mignogna. Why would you let someone come to your con? Again, there's pictures, and some of these pictures, these women do not look like they're having a good time. And there's one picture of a woman who said, I'm smiling in this picture. I was 16 at the time. Vic Mignogna said to me, hey, let's take a picture. Come on, smile. Look at the camera, smile. And she smiled, and then he planted a kiss on her cheek.
Yeah.
And that's a picture. There's a picture of it floating around. And she said, I'm smiling, but I was so creeped out at the time.
Right.
Because people don't understand how sexual assault works, right? They see TV shows, and they just think that, it's this, like, weird I don't want to trigger anybody and get them thinking about what happened to them, but they just think that it's something that happens like behind the scenes somewhere in private. And yes, I did talk about the fact that yes, it is part of someone's profile when they are someone who assaults people to take people away from people in public. But sometimes it can be something like, having this picture out, because if Vic Mignogna saw this picture, if he really did do that the way the woman said that he did, what would he say? Well, come on, she's smiling. She's happy about it. And it's like, no, because you told her, hey, come on, smile. Then you planted a fucking kiss on her cheek without asking. And she's 16 years old. She's terrified. Like, what 16-year-olds do you know who are just like, excuse me, get your hand off me, you scoundrel. I will talk to the constable. You're fucking 16 years old. This dude is, and I mentioned his age much earlier. We didn't get back to it until now. He's 59 now. These allegations, 14 to 15 years old. He was 44 to 45 when some of this stuff first started to come out.
Right.
That is not, and I only bring up his age not to excuse bad behavior in early age, but sometimes people talk about teachable moments, right? And this is a moment where you would think is a teachable moment until you realize, wait a minute, this dude is almost in his 60s? Yeah. This dude is nearly in his 60s, and this stuff first started when he was in his 40s, allegedly. Some of it, of course, not. At what point do we have to say, I don't think I can give you the biggest benefit of the doubt that I would give if someone was like 17? Because, like, look, right? Different situation altogether, right? But someone's 17, right? And I've actually had some of my students, I'm not going to say which ones, but they've been a little, they're young. They don't know certain things, right? And so you talk to them about certain things. I was a debate coach, so you would talk to them and try to debate them on their ideas. And if they disagree with you, you want them to try to prove their ideas. But some of them would potentially say things that I'm like, no, like, don't. Why did you say it that way? Ooh, Jesus. You know that's a problem, right? And then they would learn and be like, oh, wow, I didn't realize. I thought that might be considered funny. I didn't realize a group of people would be upset by that. And I'm not going to get into what's in particular. But again, if I'm making a hypothetical here, right? If someone is 15 years old and they sit back and they're like, I don't think that Nazis are a problem. And they're 15 years old. You sit there and you're like, Jesus Christ, kid. And you try to talk to them to make them understand why that is the case, right? And then hopefully when they're 30, like that's 15 years later, again, try to take the same time frame. They're 30, they're like, huh, that was a really fucking stupid thing that I said when I was 15, right? Again, I'm not trying to excuse bad behavior. I'm just saying that people do grow, and I think we should encourage growth. The issue is that it gets to a certain age where we have to take the benefit of the doubt. Think of it like a large, like a dial, like one of those like dials on a speaker, and you kind of have to turn the benefit of the doubt dial down as someone gets older. Because yes, they could learn. I'm not saying that no one can learn after they grow up, past a certain age. But it's really hard for me to sit here and be like you said, Tristan, when you said, but dude, they're not your family. It's hard for me to sit here and be like, right, yeah, of course Vic Mignogna thought that in his 40s. Of course he couldn't distinguish who's family and who's not in his 40s.
Right.
That becomes a huge issue for me. Now, before we wrap this story up, I want to find what Vic Mignogna said to so he has a fan club. I brought them up earlier, the Rissenbull Rangers. Rissenbull, I'm pretty sure that's I looked it up. That's the place that Winry and Ed lived.
Yeah,
actually.
It was their hometown in Full Metal Alchemist.
Right, yes. Now, this is relevant, not like their name, but like what's relevant is he apologized. So we read this apology, right? Even if you're someone who's just like, I agree with this apology, and I think that even though there's some issues, I believe him 100%. And, some people may even say, look, how about we just give him one more shot? If he fucks up one more time, ban him from everything forever.
Yeah.
Right? Again, I still think that at the very least he should be banned from cons for a year. At the least, banned from cons for a year. And other companies, at least for a few years, should think, why would we want to hire this guy? Yeah. Right? At least. Again, even if you're saying, but some of the stuff is heavier than others and it's allegation-y more than, but again, we have pictures and we also have him confirming some of the stuff. And the Holocaust comment, there's video proof. Like, what? Anyway, I want to find, because there are two apologies, Tristan. I didn't tell Tristan about this. I told him sort of about this, but I didn't send this to him because I found it, but then I lost it. And I want to make sure I find it because he apologized once to all of us and then in a forum differently to the Rissenbull Rangers. And I want to try to find this apology before we wrap this thing up, even if we have to cut some of this out as I'm looking for it. I can't believe I wasn't able to save it at the time. But while I'm looking for it, I do want to mention one thing. So earlier I talked about some people in the LGBTQ community saying that Vic Mignogna was rude to them, or, he might be homophobic because he was rude to them. There are other people in the community who've also said, hey, Vic Mignogna actually wasn't rude to me. Now, again, they're in the community, so it's a bit different than if someone says, because Tristan, just to take a quick pause from looking for this, there have been some people who are male who said, that's odd that Vic Mignogna has been accused of sexually assaulting these women because he never sexually assaulted me. And it's just like, his alleged MO is women, and you're a man who's going to say that. Again, alleged MO is women.
Right.
And you're going to say as a man, but he never did that to me. Okay. But these are people, yeah, with that argument. But these are people in the LGBTQ plus community. So I do admit that perhaps, like I said earlier, there's a good chance that Vic Mignogna might actually just be a dick who is rude to you because he's rude to people.
Yeah.
And not simply due to the fact that you are in the LGBTQ plus community. Now, again, I'm not trying to speak on your behalf, speak towards you guys. Like, you guys believe what you want to believe. I'm only bringing this up because there are some people who are in the community who said, hey, he wasn't rude to me. And there's others who said, oh, that makes sense maybe why he was rude to me.
Right.
So I think that should be acknowledged as I am looking for this still. Ooh, found the Ranger Forum. Damn it, I have to log in. Okay, I want to see, because, again, someone took a picture of this and actually posted it on Twitter. I want to try and find the apology, or the non-apology, the take-back apology, because it was actually insane how he literally just reversed. Anyways, so Tristan, as I'm looking this up, anything else you want to say about this that you haven't already?
No,
Yeah. It's frustrating because Tristan, I know you, Tristan, and, you know, Tristan really tries to look for the good in people, and then he sees something like this, and he doesn't, like, sit back and be like, oh, I don't believe these women because holy shit.
Right? No.
But you try to look for the good in people, and it's really fucking rough when not only are all these allegations coming out, and it's funny, too, because not even, like, Tristan's a huge fan of his, so it's not even, like, you're sitting here and you're just like, but I liked Vic Mignogna. Like, you and I both agree, like, the dude's fucking replaceable. Like,
yeah, right.
Like, you want to know how replaceable he is, everyone, and Tristan? I could swear that it was him doing the voice of a character in Persona 5, the main character. I thought it was him, and then I looked it up, and it wasn't him. That's how fucking replaceable the dude can be. Who can't say the... Like, I'm sorry, I know I haven't seen him in the booth. Maybe as an actor, he's so good because he just gets, you know, one take wonder, whatever. But right. I'm sorry, when I look at his vocal range and the way he does things, in my head, and I know I'm simplifying it, I just sit back and I'm like, who can't say the phrase, commoner's coffee? So,
right.
Like, oh my goodness, the way he growled as Broly was fucking brilliant.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's been so long, and they're Broly's being introduced into the canon now. Like, it would be simple enough to have a different actor for Broly at this point. Like, they didn't have to get Vic Mignogna back for the role.
Exactly. But it's just like I said, it's frustrating because, you know, Tristan wants to give people everyone the benefit of the doubt. But then, and benefit of the doubt in the sense that, not that Vic Mignogna didn't do this, but that he could change, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that he can't change necessarily, especially with some of the stuff that isn't alleged, that's, like, right out there. I'm not saying that he can't change. But, like, you know, the fact that Tristan and I have to sit here and be like, 15 years, though, man. Yeah. Like, there are some kids who are fans of his right now that were not even born when these allegations were being made.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like, 15 years. And he's barely acknowledged some of these throughout the years. Now, I have these pictures, by the way. I'm going to not only read them out, I'm actually going to save them as well so that I could... actually show them to you guys in this live stream. So it's a really frustrating thing too, because again, you also have these people who they're also making mistakes, in my opinion. The ones who are doing the hashtag I stand with Vic, they're the ones too in 15 years are going to be like, oh my god, I didn't know this dude. Like, I just like the anime that he was in, and for some reason they defended him so, like, outwardly. When it's like, dude, like, you like Edward Elric. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you like Edward Elric. You may not like Vic Mignogna as much as you think that you do. Right. Anyway, so let me actually post some of these as we're talking about this. Also want to mention as well, just a little, you know, as we're putting this up, a little talk about the idea of separating the art from the artist, right? Usually, like, this wouldn't be necessarily a time to talk about that, but I only wanted to bring it up because some people are saying, hey, I guess it means I can never watch FMA again. For me, personally, because, and also, by the way, there are some people that are saying, so I guess I can't go see Dragon Ball Super. And I just want to acknowledge that, for me personally, it seems like, the industry standard is no one, unless they are the licensor, gets any type of residuals from any of these either movies or TV shows or anything, right?
Right.
And I bring that up for a really good reason. I bring it up simply due to the fact that if he did, then I would actually look at Tristan and I'd be like, Tristan, I don't think I could see this movie in theaters. I think we should buy it. Like Dragon Ball Super Broly. I think we should buy it third hand on eBay. I don't really think we should do this. However, I do not believe that in this case, if we sit there and go see the movie, or if I don't immediately throw out my Blu-rays, that I am in any way supporting Vic Mignogna. Because again, Vic Mignogna is in no way getting money from this. And also when it comes to both DVD and Blu-ray, either FMA or anything else that he's been in, you could just turn on the Japanese audio.
Right.
Japanese audio exists. This is anime. So in no way do I believe that this is... And Tristan, you know, please tell me if you agree, disagree. Because it's much different than Watanabe, who was the author of Rurouni Kenshin, where he gets money from those. Because he's the person who wrote it, right? So do you see where I'm coming from there, Tristan? Because I feel like you and I agree on this. Like sometimes it's hard to separate the art from the artist, and I know that it's hurt your love of Rurouni Kenshin, or like how you want to love Rurouni Kenshin with what happened with that artist. But it's much different than this Vic Mignogna situation, because with this Vic Mignogna situation, he's making nothing from this. Like, he's not making any money from the ticket sales of Super Broly. So you can still see that movie and also tell Funimation, by the way, if you want to feel like you want to do something to help, in this situation, like, well, what can I do to make my voice heard? I would suggest that if you can, you just message Funimation and politely and also cons, by the way, that have him coming to them, and tell them politely, hey, listen, and send them the link to these allegations and be like, hey, listen, this is what you're essentially endorsing or allowing by having him come to your con. You want him to do this at your con? If you're hiring him, do you want him to then promote you and your work at a con? And then what's attached to, it's not just Vic Mignogna attached to it in that case. If he does something in 2019 at a con, it's Vic Mignogna promoting Broly Dragon Ball Super Broly, Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to now, some of you guys have been seeing me put up the pictures. Let me read them out to you guys as we're talking about this. So the first one is, let's see here. Actually, I'll read them out personally, because I have the pictures open over here. Okay, so the first picture is, and this is him posting on the Rissenbull forums. He says, people who know me know how absurd these claims are. I hope all these people will who know better will speak up for right and let the conventions know that this tiny group of detractors doesn't speak for the vast majority. Please do anything you can to counter this stuff with positivity and your experiences. Let everyone you know, convention sites included, that these handful of people leveling baseless garbage do not speak for the majority. That's all I ask, and know that I love and appreciate all of you so much. God bless you guys. I will hope to see you all this year sometime, somewhere. So Vic Mignogna said that out loud. He said, yeah, all of these people are detractors. Not the nice way he was talking about this in his apology, Tristan.
Yeah.
No. In his apology, even though there were some issues, he was talking about this like, oh, I'm so sorry if you've been upset by the things that I may have done to you. And then privately to his fan club, he's just like, I hope you go after these people.
Yeah. Don't use your fans to make them be your wall for you,
Yeah. I mean, my God, dude. Like,
defend yourself.
Yeah, defend yourself, dude. Like, you're 59 years old. This is new, by the way. He didn't post this like years ago. This is brand new in his fan club. The next thing he said, let's see. The next thing is, so he said, hi, April, what's your question? And someone named April, I guess, said, or maybe that's her username. Hope it is, because they blurred out the other names, but they didn't blur out April. So she says, or this person says, why do some people treat others who love your work like crap? My question regarding to this topic. And then this person said, Vic Mignogna said, because they are sad and lonely. They don't like to see others having fun or enjoying themselves, and feel some sick need to trash anyone who doesn't see things their way. I'm thinking he's referring to the fact that of the Yaoi situation. Yeah. But even then, dude, come on, you're 59 years old, you're talking to your fans. Your specific fan base, who you could amass like an army. Like, I can't give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And
I think of it as like,
I want to read some more too. He says, going on with this next one, he says, let's see here. Okay, because I want to make sure I can make this larger. Let's see here. Yes. Okay, got it. So he says, some of the very things you guys love about me, love about me and the way I've treated you and so many others are the very things that these hurtful people use to say I'm a pervert. Go figure. He said, go figure.
Yeah.
And then said, then he said a little bit later, so it would appear that I am going to need to revise the way I interact with fans at conventions. And then the last thing he said, which, by the way, I would guess it does acknowledge him saying, like, you know what, I do know that these things have been said before. He then goes on to say his last one. By the way, I would like to say that I'm sorry that I'm just kind of dragging these all around. I thought I had this one queued up, and sadly I did not. He says, and I'll also again link these in the chat as we're wrapping this up. He says, this is the last thing he said. These rumors and gossip have been slung around for many, many years. None of these outrageous stories are true, and there is not one shred of proof or evidence to support them. I have been very open and warm and welcoming to fans for many years, and that includes hugging them, taking pictures, and occasionally giving them a kiss on the cheek or forehead. But all of the outrageous stories that keep getting passed around are simply desperate attempts for attention. I'm so disappointed that people feel the need to do this kind of thing. And then he said, additionally, I am not homophobic, not anti-Semitic, not a predator of any sort, and there is not 1 ounce of substance to the contrary. So, that's the issue, right? Like I was telling you, Tristan, like you want to give this guy the benefit of the doubt and not, you want to say maybe at most he's an asshole.
Yeah.
But, and to be fair, this does prove that he's an asshole. But he's saying stuff like this, and it's like, dude, why are you getting your fan base to rally behind you?
Yeah.
And here, because he could have just posted, because on the Rissenbull Rangers Facebook page, all they did was post that picture. So he could have just posted that picture and said, I'm sorry, I cannot make any more comments. I love you guys. No, he went out of his way to say things and say that people that are claiming that he's done anything wrong are attention seeking.
Yeah. Like, do you really think you're that, like, you're so much the hype that it's just people attacking you because of your fame?
And it's just the fact that, like, because it's just the fact that, again, I'm not trying to downplay the pictures, but arguably that is the sexual harassment that is going around. Part of it, or most of it, is even if people don't have pictures, they've said, yeah, that picture, even though I don't have one like that, that's basically what happened to me, too. It's just that, again, like, something else that, again, like I mentioned way earlier, and we're gonna officially wrap this up. I know it's been very long. Sorry, guys. We're gonna officially wrap this up. Before we do, I just want to bring out the phone again. It is not easy to take pictures off of this phone and put them on other places. This phone is dead. Any pictures I had on this phone are dead. So there are people, because again, people are trying to say, well, if you don't have the pictures, then that's not proof, so show me the pictures. This phone and pictures like on this phone, that people can go like, oh my God, like I got that picture with Vic Mignogna at the time. Hell, some people who took that phone, took pictures with their phone and felt disgusted by what he did to them would potentially delete it. They wouldn't sit there and think, I'm going to save this because 15 years later, we're going to talk about this. It's just one of those things where, again, these are allegations, but we wanted to bring this up and we wanted to talk about this a lot longer than I thought we would, to be fair. But we wanted to talk about this because this is not something that should slide by. And hopefully he does face some kind of ramifications for what he's done. And hopefully more people do come forward if they have been hurt by Vic Mignogna, come forward with their stories. And also, hopefully, if they do have some, come forward with more pictures, more video, and other witnesses as well, and have other eyewitness testimony. And hopefully we can make sure that if the allegations are accurate, and from this, and also, again, from the stuff that we clearly see in front of us, he can actually pay in some way or another, not physically. I don't want him to get harassed online and get bombarded with hate mail. I don't want him to get death threats. I don't want him to get, terrible things to be sent to his house.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that one of three things, if not all three things happen. He, A, is banned from cons or more cons and have them happen for a longer period of time than just, you can't come to this one. Maybe a little bit more than that, because again, he's acknowledged that some of the stuff did happen.
Yeah.
2, companies hire him, put him on a blacklist for a bit, even if it's not forever. Just because, again, I know some people would be like, well, why not forever? And I get it, but at least for a few years.
Yeah.
Put him on a blacklist. Show him that they will not accept his behavior when he's acknowledging that he has kissed these people on the cheek and then calling them attention seekers.
Yeah.
And 3, if the statute of limitations on some of these allegations are not It's not out of that realm. That some of these people who have accused him of groping, of sexual assault, and if some of the women who, even though they consented at the time, they allegedly consented at the time to him having sex with them, if they were underage, they also come forward. And again, if statute of limitations are not past that, he could actually face some type of legal ramification for this.
Yeah.
I would hope that could happen as well. And that's why we're talking about this, because it's a rough topic. I know it's a rough thing to start off with. We're going to talk about something nice next to just breathe. But I really hope that this video is seen. Look, it's not about us being seen and us being, heard personally. It's about these accounts being heard and these people being heard, because I don't want this to just be swept under the rug again.
No.
Because I think, people trying to say like, oh, this is coming up because of Broly or the Me Too movement. I will say one thing about the Me Too movement, and it's something that happens with every movement or every event. And it's actually something that happens a lot across the board, and it's something that I really hope doesn't happen here. When a movement comes up like the Me Too movement, what some people will say is, even if they believe in the movement and they believe in the women and the men, by the way, who also are abused in that movement,
right,
what they say is, well, thank goodness we brought it up. Now let's move on. No. This isn't cured. This isn't fixed.
Right. It's not something you just get up and move on from. It's something that needs to be further
addressed when things occur. So just because the Me Too movement happened in the Hollywood industry doesn't mean that there still aren't women who are working as servers, people call them waitresses, as servers, who aren't getting slapped on the ass and then have to be told, well, what are you going to do about it? Right? Or having managers who are sexually harassing them, and then due to certain laws in certain states, they're actually allowed to hold their tips. So a manager could harass that worker, that female or male worker, or gender non-binary worker, and then guess what? Well, are you gonna say something against me? I'm holding your tips. It's a sick system. It's a sick world, and I hope that this doesn't just stay with Hollywood. This thankfully this has been now being talked about in the anime community as well, and I hope that shit like this does get addressed in the future, and that's why we wanted to talk about this. Thank you all so much for listening in. Let's move on to our next story.